Hello there, you absolute legends. Emma McElhinney here with Piss Off Perimenopause and the musings of a bullshit queenager. I am here to ruin your misconceptions about perimenopause, fat loss, and kick midlife in the face. So if you think your 40s are a drag, think again. Because every week I am going to be stripping down the myths about perimenopause. I'm serving you raw, unfiltered truths about your health and smashing misconceptions about fat loss. And a whole lot more. So if you thought you knew midlife, you don't know the half of it. Aging is inevitable, but getting old is a choice. So buckle up, grab a glass of something yummy, and let's get to it. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Piss Off Perimenopause and the musings of a bullshit queenager. Today we have the very beautifully made up, and that will become apparent later on, the very lovely Lisa Chuma, and she helps parents prepare their children for success. So I am really excited about this conversation, and we've been trying to get this conversation booked for a long time now.
Yes.
So I'm absolutely delighted that she's here. So welcome, Lisa. It's lovely to have you. Looking very glamorous. We've just had a bit of a nightmare with lighting, lipstick, all the things, but we've both got our lippy on now and we look amazing. So welcome to the podcast, Lisa. It's lovely to have you here. How are you?
I am very well, very happy. I am glad I'm here after all the rescheduling and we're going to do this. We're finally doing it. So I'm so excited.
I know, it's so good. It's so good. And I know most of the listeners of this podcast do have children. So you're going to get a lot of listeners. So let's start off with a really big question. And I think it's one that everybody's asking in their head going, so in your eyes, in your opinion, what is a successful child?
Okay. It's not as simple as this is what a successful child is, but I will explain that for me, when I talk about success, I'm talking about the children achieving the highest level of personal and professional development.
Okay.
So for me, success is when a child knows that I'm being the best version of myself. I'm doing what I'm great at or good at. I am happy. I am able to actually get up and be excited about what I'm about to do. And this also comes, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around success being it all about money, and maybe a wrong connotation as far as success is concerned. But as we're preparing children for success, and my definition is really skills like resilience, skills like time management, determination, drive. That doesn't matter what your child will become. They still need to have time management. They still need to have resilience. So my definition of success is actually a child reaching their highest level of personal and professional development.
I love it. And I think, like, I've only got one child, and it's I think in the entrepreneur world as well, we have to be resilient by nature. We have to be good time managers by nature. We have to have almost, like, the way I approach life now is very, very different from when I was employed. And it's certainly these kind of skills I don't see necessarily being taught formally elsewhere other than through parenting skills. So it's a huge area of opportunity. What, Lisa, it's a very niche thing to do. What kind of brought you into this world? What kind of ignited this passion for you?
For me, I think, a few things, my own children, but also seeing other children. So I think I had met so many children who gave up on their dreams simply because they just had not been taught how to take risks, how to navigate setbacks, how to just believe in themselves, right? So they gave up. That's scenario number one. And then scenario number two is I met children who were just expected to be successful. They were just supposed to know it somehow. But the parents were not really realizing that they play a key role in preparing their children for success. So those two things kind of drove me to, okay, it's really sad that we have people that are, really missing out on what they really want or their dreams simply because they haven't got the grit. They don't have that resilience to say, okay, I was aiming for this. It didn't go very well. How can I, navigate this? How can I continue to just believe in myself and try again? Really being solution focused. So they didn't have that skill, or at least that built in them as a value. So they gave up. But also I felt like parents were sitting there without taking any responsibility in actually ensuring that they prepare their children for success. Somehow we expect them to just be successful and know how to do it. So I'm really speaking to parents to say, no, but you as a parent have the responsibility to prepare that child for success.
Mm. From when you're working with parents, is that quite a challenging conversation?
Yes, because I think number one is really they think that, I'm talking financial success. Mm-hmm. Or I want children to become, these very rowdy, proud, aggressive people that are only hungry for money and power. And that's not what I'm teaching. I'm really saying, well, whatever the best that you want your child to be, help them to become that. It could be the best cleaner in the world, right? But if that's what they want, help them get to that point. It could be the best, I don't know, sports person, anything that they want to become, help them to become that, but as the best version of themselves. Because when they are the best version of themselves, they show up better than others. This is where you meet some children, you're like, oh, there's something about this child. You can't put a finger, but there's something that they bring to them that always stands out. And that's where they have this self-confidence. They really have positive self-esteem. So yes, whenever I talk about success, there's a misunderstanding or some sort of a myth that I'm only talking about money, like prepare your children for money. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying success, and that success includes, healthy habits, self-awareness, self-resilience. That's also part of success. So yes, there's a lot of learning. I first have to educate my customers and clients first before going into the process of actually preparing their children for success.
Yeah, that self-esteem point is really, really important. And I think like kids really can have a really tough time and like with social media pressures, with how to parent your child, with the education system and whatnot. And there's so many children, like my child is nearly 12, and his age group, so much self-doubt, so much like, I don't know, like, what is my place in the world? So I think it's such a huge topic, so interesting. So when, like, as most of the people listening to this will be women, there might be the one man, and if you are here, then welcome to the world of perimenopause and ranty women. But for mums and aunties and grannies and, just adult females in a family, what can we be doing more of? What should we be doing more of? What are we doing terribly wrong? Like, because I know a lot of people will be doing things wrong. So give us your finest tips.
I don't think anyone is doing anything wrong. I honestly feel like everybody's doing the best that they can based on what they know. So I don't think anyone is doing anything wrong. But again, from that standpoint, I would like then to tell you a few things that you can do, maybe to unlearn certain things, relearn the things maybe that you've given up, or even learn something new. So when you're preparing children for success, for me, it starts with the mindset. Really work on having a positive mindset. Make sure the children have a positive mindset. This means you as a parent needs to have a positive mindset. You see, it's also, as much as you're passing it on, you need to embrace it. You need to be living it for your children to also be able to learn, but also live it. So for me, mindset is number one. That mindset is, yes, I can win, but that mindset is also, if I don't win, I can always win in another way, right? So whichever way you're not losing, either you're getting exactly what you wanted at the time that you want, or you're taking a moment to actually reflect back and say, okay, what could I have done differently to get a different result, right? And this is a conversation between you and child. Okay, you were not so happy with the result here. What could you have done differently to get a different result, right? You get them to think, you get them to reflect, you get them to be more solution focused, right? So they're not focusing on the outcome per se, but they're now thinking, oh, what could I have done, to do things differently? Or what can you do differently next time? to get a different result. Again, it's more or less the same question, but it framed slightly differently. But what you're really teaching your children to do is getting into the habit of reflecting, learning, and also then thinking of solutions. So another key element there is being solution focused. There are things that are beyond anyone's control. They just happen. But when they do happen, how do we get over those? Teach your children to be solution focused, not to focus too much on the outcome or the problem in a case where the outcome is not what they wanted, but really quickly kick into, what can I do? What could I have done differently? What will I do differently? Because then now they're really more solution and open-minded to, looking at the situation. So that's, for me, if you look at, mindset, if you look at being solution focused, you also need to make sure that your children really believe in themselves. They need to have a positive self-image. And that positive self-image comes from positive self-talk. How are you as a parent talking to yourself? Are you that one that, and then this is like this, and then, and then this is like, everything is always wrong with you? And if we have, I know this much very well, if you have daughters, they will also start to do that. Oh, look at my this. Oh, look at my nose. Oh, look at my shoulders. Look at my arms. So sometimes it's to reflect as well as a parent, like, how are you talking to yourself?
Yeah.
How are you really, what are you saying? So for me, when I look at success, it's that mindset, being solution focused, having a positive self-image in terms of who they really are as a person. But another one that I really, really love is really teach your children to really take risks.
Oh, interesting. What do you mean?
You need to allow them to take risks. And these risks can be, you set them a goal, a task that very well they do not like to do, or maybe they might not actually do it, right? So the whole point here is they're not going to make it anyway. They're going to fail. We all know that, right? They're not going to make it. But there are things that they're going to learn in that process that you could never have taught them had you just sat at home and tried to say, oh, if this happens, do this. Mm-hmm. So when you've got the mindset, that solution-focused sort of approach, and also have that positive self-image, you'll be able to take risks in a very, very different way. And that, for me, is where I would like to challenge more parents to say, challenge your children. You'll be amazed with what they'll bring out. I think we're so good at protecting them, giving them what we know they can achieve, and then we keep them there, and then we're slowly moving. I really will challenge you that one of the key elements to success is actually being able to take risks. If you look at anything, right? Anyone who is successful in terms of what you admire and you think, okay, this is success, there is a huge, huge part that risk played a very key element in that. So we need to teach them. I think when we teach them how to take risk, or why it's important to take risk, they do it in a safe environment. They're at home, they're with us. We're not asking them to do anything that is crazy, but we're kicking some sort of a behavior. So that when they see an opportunity, they don't walk away from it. They're like, okay, let me try it, right? You're opening their mind to, okay, this is new. I've never done this, but let me try it. It's because they're now so okay with taking risks, and so okay with, it might not work out, but I don't lose anything. So for me, that'll be the 4: mindset, solution-focused, self-belief, positive self-belief, and taking risks. Look for opportunities that will give your children that element to go out of their comfort zone. They need to get used to being out of their comfort zone.
I really love that so much. And there was two things there that you said that kind of made me go, oh my God, this is so important, because the clients that I work with, they're the adult version of these children that you're talking about that have never taken a risk, and then they get the fear of making change in their life, making positive change in their life. And they get there's so many, like, I work with women in their 40s and 50s, and so many of these women speak to me and they say, I've had body issues since I was 9, 10, 11, because I saw my mum and my gran and my aunties always complaining about their fat, always complaining that they couldn't wear this, always complaining that they look rubbish. So those two things are absolutely critical to stop, to break patterns, to break generational patterns that we see. From, like, you were talking about the risk thing there, and the first, that's really bad, the first thing that jumped into my head was, Is she talking about asking my child to go and jump out of a plane?
No,
But
no, no.
obviously you're not.
No, I'm not. No, I'm
What
not.
kind of things, what kind of things, if somebody was new to this, if somebody was new to like teaching their kids about mindset or teaching them resilience, what kind of challenges could you set for a child that would help them through that process?
Okay, so concrete examples of risk could simply be, like I know my eldest at some point didn't like public speaking. It was just, he's an introvert, he just doesn't like it. And I did set him a challenge to say, okay, I'd like you to apply for a certain position within the school. And this position is all about public speaking. He's like, Mom, but it's all about public speaking. I'm like, yes, I know. But apply for it. And let's see, maybe you get it, maybe you don't, right? But that process for him, he then realized, oh, I'm not bad at public speaking, actually. And he got the position.
Oh, wow.
He got it, but I don't know what story he was obviously telling himself. As a result, he had already excluded himself, not because he was excluded, but he had already excluded himself, right? And I told him, well, why don't you apply? We prepare and let's see what happens. But along that process, he realized, hey, I can actually do this. I thought I couldn't speak in front of people. I actually can. I just need to prepare. I just need a bit more time, to make sure that my speech is done, which is fine. Some people can just go and speak. It's okay. Some people need to prepare. It's okay. So you figure out what works best for you. But for me, it was like he had that light bulb moment of, I can actually do what I thought I couldn't do. But had I also sat with him and said, oh, yeah, no, I actually see you're an introvert. It might not work, you're right. Then there's a lot, right, that would have kept him in his comfort zone. So anything that it becomes a little bit out, then it's a bit of an alert, like don't go, anything, So that's one example I have with my son. Another thing could well be, if you know that your child would like to work in a certain company or a certain position, you can even help them to write a letter to this person. It could be somebody you find on LinkedIn. It could be the CEO of the company, but just get them to do something that's not the usual, right? It could be cooking dinner. I don't know, right? If your kids don't cook, give them Saturdays and Sundays. Say, hey guys, as of this weekend, Saturdays and Sundays are yours for dinner. You tell us what you're cooking. You tell us on Friday what you need. We buy the groceries, we buy everything, and you cook. And you'll be amazed. The first time it's like, oh, I can't cook, blah, blah. And then the next time it's like, oh, and then this is happening. But if you're continuously doing it, you will be amazed. Like, what did you cook that? So it's small little things like that is really out of their comfort zone, right? For me, it's even pocket money. How much pocket money are you giving them? If you're giving them £5, that's fine. 1 week, give them £50. See what they do with it. Because that's another way, like, okay, are they managing money well? Right? You're never going to know, because I think for a lot of parents, we're very good at, okay, I give you £5, then I know that he's only going to buy what he needs, and then he's going to be safe, and then he's not going to do anything. But how then do they grow? You need to challenge them. So just 1 week, you're like, you know what? I normally give you £5. I'm going to give you £50 this weekend. You don't need to say anything, but see what they do with it.
That's quite interesting, because we all think we know what they would do with it, but I suppose if you never give them the chance to surprise you, you're never going to get surprised.
Exactly. And yes, they could go and spend it. Basically go to McDonald's and buy their friends, which is fine. But what you're trying to teach, there are certain key lessons in terms of, well, do you think that was wise? Was that the best use of your money? And in a case like that, you put that same £50 and say, well, you could have done these 3 things, but you did this one thing. Help them realize, right? They're growing. And this is why, for me, I really got into this work, because there's this expectation that they need to just know it. But how do they just know it if you don't give them, the teachings and the learnings that they need to be able to get to a point where they now know it? So, and that process is that £50 today, spend it all today. Fine. There are lessons to be learned, right? So it's really that, those sort of things, it's just stuff that they don't normally do. Even approaching somebody, you're in the mall, tell them, hey, go and approach that person and introduce yourself. See what happens, see what they say. Like, oh, mom, no, I can't talk to people, but that approach and that confidence, like, okay, I can approach the person and say something, is something that they're learning through doing. And it's not the same to just teach children some of these things. So there's certain things that I'm always looking at opportunities. Okay, how can I teach them this? My children, we live in Switzerland and they're in school in England. At some point I say to them, guys, I'm not coming to pick you guys up. You're flying home. And it was World War VII. And I was like, it's fine, but I'm just going to wait for you at the airport. You need to figure out how to get home. I've done it with you guys. I'm done. Did they not get home? They did. They got home. So that for them was like, Mom, are you joking? I'm like, I'm not joking. I am here in Zurich waiting for you. You're going to get to the airport. You need to come home. I don't know what they did through security and finding the gate, but they got home. It's really, really, it has to be safe, right? And airport is the safe places. We had done this trip so many times. So it's not like from day one, I just said, okay, there were certain things that I'd done before, but I got to a point where I was like, okay, these guys are getting so used to having me pick them up and bring them back home and then bring them back to school. I need to let go a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I love that. So I can just imagine the look in their faces the first time that's it. You're going international.
Mom. I'm like, no. You need to go. Are you serious? I'm like, yes. And I remember that night, Thursday into Friday, my son didn't sleep because he was so anxious.
Oh.
I was like, son, it's okay. I've taught you. You know what you need to do. I'll see you here. And they did make it. So it's those small little things. But once you start getting them to feel that discomfort, and realize, hey, it's not the end of the world. I can still do this, even if it really opens them up to amazing opportunities.
You're so right, because there's so many. I don't know, like, I've never been a parent in another generation, but it feels very much that we put this bubble around our children because we want to protect them from the world, which of course we want to do. There's horrible people out there, there's horrible situations, there's horrible environments, but at some point they are going to be adults, and they are like, we're not going to be around forever. Like, I don't want to be a 93-year-old lady that's still mothering this child the same way that I mother him just now. And you are bang on the money about that's not just a flick of the switch that there you go, you're just expected to adult now, off you pop. And if you don't teach them when they're young, it's like it's really hard. God.
Yeah.
I did have a really interesting question, and it has completely gone from my head.
Okay.
It will come back to me, but I do have another question.
Yes.
Earlier on in the chat, you were talking about teaching them healthy habits.
Yeah.
That's something that I teach my clients as well, like the power of habits. What kind of habits do you feel are things that parents can help their kids introduce into their life?
I think for me, healthy habits is looking after themselves. Are they happy? Right? How do they feel? Are they happy with their friends? Or do some friends make them feel less than, right? And if that's the case, what are they doing? Can they speak out? Say, hey, I don't like that, or stop that. It's just being able to, when I look at children and healthy habits, it's protecting their well-being, them being responsible for that. Because there are things that happen where we are not there, or we might never know, but they need to be in a position where they say, you know what, this I don't like, this I'm not comfortable with, this, please stop, right? With so much message and authority that if they say stop, someone will stop, right? Because they need to protect themselves. So for me, healthy habits is all about looking after themselves. And this includes their own mental well-being, because I think there's a lot around, oh, no, I was just calling you a name. No, it was joking, but sometimes it affects how that particular child will see themselves for the rest of their lives. It may have been a joke to you, So I think it's then very important for our children to be able to speak up. And that's the point I'm trying to put across, that teach them healthy habits, to be able to speak up, to say, I wasn't happy with that, or that's not what what I was expecting you to do. This could be a friend, a teacher, even a parent, really saying, you know what, that's not good. It doesn't make me feel good. So I'm going to let you know that, you know what, I actually don't enjoy it or I don't like it. So those sort of healthy habits. Again, healthy habits for me is financial as well, right? Teach them how to be healthy with money, how to spend money, how to save money, how to invest money, right? It's a habit. It's something that starts. And if you teach them when they're young, it's something that can keep them for the rest of their lives, right? They will know how to make the right decision. So money also needs to be part of that healthy habit element. There's food, right? Food, I think, is most probably the most commonly assumed when we talk about healthy habits, right? So I won't talk too much about it because I know you addressed that.
There's already 200 other episodes all about that.
Yeah, so for me, when I talk about healthy habits, it's really, can your children communicate when they're not happy about something? Can they really tell others that, you know what, I don't like this feeling? So can you please stop? What is their, relationship with money? What is their relationship with their own thoughts? How do they see themselves? This one is a big one because I think when it comes to, self-esteem, self-confidence, it's just based on how somebody sees themselves. So how do they see themselves? And if you think that they're looping in this negative self-talk, pick that up and start to turn it. Start to replace it with more positive affirmations, more positive talk. Help them to realize, hey, have you realized that you downplay yourself, or you always talk negative to yourself, or you always look down upon yourself? Keep them to have those, those thoughts up to say, oh, I think I'm going to the negative one. I need to go into positive. So it's really helping them along the way. And healthy habits are not a one and done, like, oh, I told you. It's actually a process. So the sooner you start with your children, by the time they leave for university at 18, or at least to start their first job, you will have had a couple of years to really reinforce those habits. And you will know that, you know what, no matter how much money they have, they're responsible. They'll be responsible with it. They'll do what is wise and what is best for them. If there's anyone around them who's making them feel any type of way, they will have the right confidence to say, you know what, stop it. I don't like it. Really express themselves. So it's those sort of things for me when talking about habits that I really feel like it's maybe the ones that we don't think are the common healthy habits, but let's really work with our children to get those and really give them that foundation before they leave the house.
So important. So important. So much in it. And I have thought of whatever the other question was.
Good. Came back.
So it was about, we're talking about challenging our children and pushing that little bit extra. Mm-hmm. How do you help your parents draw the line from that to being helicopter parent who are constantly go, you must do better, you must do better? Because I see that quite a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. Just some people that I know. So how do you help your parents not do that?
I think that the first thing here is to realize that your child is not going to be good at everything. Mm-hmm. So now if they're doing everything, that means there's something wrong already. Right? So for me, with clients, identify the top 3 strengths that your child has, right? And this can change. We can say now this period is this, and then it's fine. But then focus on the top 3. Mm-hmm. Just the top 3. Otherwise, you're going to be all over the place. And then what naturally happens is the children are going to become resentful of everything. Everything pertaining to going out or doing, they're going to be resentful because then it's too much, right? 2, it ends up being, I don't have any time to do anything. I'm always doing what mom wants me to do, So when you focus on just 3 things, it's easy. It could be a music instrument, a sport, and maybe drama. Simple, right? Is it all 3 times a week? And no, maybe music is once a week. Maybe, drama is once every 2 weeks, right? But what you don't want to do is to get to a point where it's all that they do, because they will resent everything and they will walk away. And I was talking to somebody last week on my podcast, and he said something that really struck me. And he said, once you take away control, like once you take all the control from children, they will look for something to control. And this is where they end up going into the drugs, the alcohol, the other stuff. So children still need to feel like they can control something. So being helicopter or tiger mom and, pushing, you're taking all the control. All they're doing is, okay. So what do you leave for them to control? If you don't leave them anything, they will find something, because as teenagers, they are looking for stuff to control, right? So you need to give them that time to do stuff that they enjoy, to do stuff that they love, to also turn around and say, you know what, I actually don't like music anymore. And it should be okay with you because they don't enjoy it. So I think that's, what's really important. It's not so easy for us as parents, because sometimes we have dreams, we've got aspirations. No, you need to do this. I understand that, but we have to work with these children, because once we put them under a lot of pressure and they feel like they don't have any control and they're suffocating, they're going to gasp up for air in different ways. And I think that's a totally different conversation. We don't want them to go there. So I think it's to do it in a healthy way. Talk to them. Is this what they want to do? If they don't want to do it, it's okay. I know sometimes we're disappointed, we're hurt, because we're like, oh, you would have been great. If they don't want to do it, let them be. It's very important to let them be. Otherwise, you're suffocating them. And the result for that is not something I think you would like to experience.
Yeah. That's a really, really good point, isn't it? Huge good point. Oh my goodness. Right. So where can people find you? You mentioned you did a podcast there. What's that called?
Prepare Children for Success.
Keeping it real, is that
Exactly. Yeah, no, I've got a podcast I launched a couple of weeks ago, and it's called Prepare Children for Success. It's on, iTunes and Google Play Store and Spotify. You'll find, if you just, put in Prepare Children for Success, you'll find it. Yeah.
And do you have, where else can people find you? Can they follow you in socials or anything?
Yes, I am on Instagram, and they can follow me and Prepare Children for Success. Anything better, right? So I am on Instagram, they can follow me there. Yeah.
Fab. Right, final question.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so this is, for those that are listening, it'll be completely irrelevant to you because the time has passed, but are you watching the Rugby World Cup final tomorrow night?
Yes, I am watching. I have been supporting South Africa from day one, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm from Zimbabwe, which is kind of like next door to South Africa. But since Zimbabwe didn't come in, I was Zimbabwean. I was South African for the time of rugby. I adopted I was like, okay, I'll be South African. So I've been supporting South Africa from day one. And my son plays rugby. So he's always been so passionate about rugby. And I was just like, dude, what is it with this game though?
That's really weird. My son plays rugby as well.
Yeah, so he's played rugby for years. So over the years I've been, falling in love with it. But this World Cup, I can referee a game. That's how much I am into my
I think you probably do a better job of some of the referees that I've seen.
Literally, that's how much I've fallen in love with the game. I mean, I love what I was watching football. I was like, rugby. There's just something about rugby. So yes, I'm watching. I've been following from day one, and I'm hoping that South Africa wins, even with 1 point. A win is a win. So yes, I am watching, and I've fallen in love with rugby during this World Cup. Definitely.
Good stuff. Well, for those of you that don't follow rugby, Scotland were in the same group as South Africa, who are the existing world champions, with Ireland, who are the Six Nation winners, and with, who else was it? No, that was it, wasn't it?
I don't know. Were they three?
Of the top two. So Ireland and South Africa got through, and only two teams got through. Scotland did not. So we have quite a mixed bag in our house for who we want to win tomorrow night.
Nice.
So it's going to be quite interesting. But yeah, good luck.
Thank you.
All right, Lisa, thank you so much for coming on. It was lovely to see your face finally. And the lighting is much better. So when you do listen to this episode, if you do want more information on, ways of helping your own child be more successful in whatever it is, then definitely give Lisa a follow, have a listen to our podcast. And she is a lovely human to boot. So yeah, she's a good egg. All right. Thank you so much, Lisa. We'll speak to you soon. And don't forget to download or take part. Oh, it's a quiz I've got. Make sure you do the quiz that's in the show notes. And I'll speak to you all in the next one.
Bye.
And just like that, we have spiced up another episode of Piss Off Perimenopause and the musings of a bullshit queenager. Massive shout out and a huge thank you for hanging out with me today. I really hope you've been entertained. And remember, don't be shy, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, keep those heels high and standards higher. Remember, it's all about glowing, growing and downright owning it. So catch you on the flip side, and don't forget to click the link in the show notes to get your freebie.